Ma'am, your daughter has been picked up. Please stop calling. That was the voicemail from Lila's school. 10:17 a.m. I was still in scrubs. Then came the second message. Her grandmother provided paperwork. Paperwork I never signed. With my name on it. Letting someone else take my 6-year-old. When I hit the parking lot, my mom's SUV was already rolling. Lila was in the back seat, sobbing. Darren was buckling her in. My mom didn't even look at me. That's when it clicked. My child wasn't being helped. She was being taken. I left my car running and ran, heart in my throat, badge bouncing on my chest. I got to the SUV and yanked the passenger handle. Locked. Of course it was locked. I knocked on the window hard enough to sting my knuckles. Mom, open the door! She cracked the window an inch. 1 inch. Sunglasses on, hair done, lipstick perfect, like she'd planned this for days. Marin, she murmured, calm and scolding. Don't make a scene. Lila's face appeared behind the foggy glass. Her little mouth was open in a soundless sob. She was strapped in, gym bag on her lap like a shield. Mommy! She screamed as soon as she saw me. And it wasn't a whiny kid scream. It was pure panic. Darren leaned back from the driver's seat and smiled at me like I'd interrupted dinner. She's fine. Your mom's stepping in. Darren wasn't blood. He was my mom's fresh start, and he looked way too comfortable. I stepped toward the driver's window. Unlock the doors. Darren's smile stayed. Relax. He said relax like my fear was the problem, not the locked doors and my daughter's tears. I pulled out my phone and hit record. Say it again. You took my child without permission. My mom's voice stayed soft. We're taking her somewhere safe. Safe. That word families use when they're about to cross a line and want it to sound like love. Safe from what? I asked. She tilted her head slightly, like she was humoring me. From your chaos. My chaos is working, I said through my teeth. My chaos is keeping us fed. Darren tapped the steering wheel like he was bored. Night shifts. Random babysitters. You're always late. Leela deserves stability. She's not with random babysitters, I snapped, then lowered my voice because Lila was watching me like she needed my calm to survive. She's with Tanya, the neighbor. You've met her. My mom waved it off. Not family. My stomach flipped. It wasn't about Tanya. It was about erasing me. I moved to the back door, crouched, so Lila could see my face clearly. Baby, I said, steady and loud enough to carry through glass. Look at me. You're okay. I'm right here. Her little hands pressed to the window. I didn't want to, she sobbed. Grandma said, Hey, I cut in softly. Don't talk right now. Just breathe. I'm getting you out. I reached for the handle again. Still locked. Darren's hand went to the child lock switch like a reflex. Not happening. That was the wrong part. Not my mom being controlling sadly. That was familiar. The wrong part was Darren acting like he had authority over my child. I straightened and stared at my mother. What paperwork did you show the office? She said it like she was proud. Emergency guardianship. Temporary. My vision tunneled. You filed something and used it like it was already approved? My mom's mouth tightened. Don't get dramatic. Darren jumped in, too confident. When a child's at risk, you move fast. At risk of what? I asked, voice shaking now. My mom lifted her sunglasses and looked me dead in the face. At risk of you. The words hit like a slap. She'd practiced saying them. My hands started shaking hard enough my phone wobbled. I shoved my free hand into my pocket and forced myself to breathe. Show me the document, I said. She shook her head once. Why? So you can twist it? So you can cry and make everyone feel bad? I stared at her. If it's real, show it. If it's fake, I'm calling the police, Darren snorted. Go ahead. That confidence again, like he knew something I didn't. I stepped back and dialed 911. eyes never leaving Lila's face. My daughter was removed from school by someone unauthorized, I said into the phone. They're in the parking lot trying to leave. My mom's voice slipped through the cracked window, suddenly sharper. Marin, stop. You're scaring her. I almost laughed. You already did. Lila was shaking in her seat. Not just crying, shaking. Her jacket was half-zipped, and one sleeve was inside out like someone dressed her fast. Her hair was frizzed like she'd been yanked by the hood. And the smallest detail made my stomach twist. Her lunchbox wasn't with her. My kid never forgets her lunchbox, which meant she hadn't packed. She hadn't planned. She'd been grabbed. Darren's engine revved. My mother's hands tightened on the wheel. I stepped in front of the SUV's hood, planted my feet. You're not leaving. The dispatcher asked for my location. I gave it twice because my tongue felt thick. 2 cruisers pulled in, with lights flashing. An officer approached me first. Ma'am, step aside. I lifted my phone, still recording. That's my child. They took her. I didn't authorize it. My mom jumped out with a folder and a trembly voice she saved for church and PTA meetings. Officer, she said. I'm just trying to protect my granddaughter. My daughter is unstable. She's overwhelmed. I'm doing this for the child. The officer took the folder, flipped pages, then looked up. His forehead creased. Miss Hale, he said. Why is this notarized signature dated next Friday? Part 2. My mom blinked. Slow. That's a mistake. A future date isn't a mistake, the officer said. Open the vehicle. The child goes to her mother, Darren muttered. This is such a waste. Like my daughter was a schedule issue. He hit unlock. I opened the back door and Lila launched into me, shaking so hard her teeth clicked. Grandma said you weren't coming, she sobbed into my neck. I held her tight and stared over her head at my mother. You told her that? My mom didn't deny it. She smoothed her sweater and said, she needed to cooperate. Like my child was an employee. The officers separated us, took statements, and warned my mom that another pickup would be treated as custodial interference. No cuffs, no dramatic takedown, just a paper trail that suddenly mattered. When it was over, the officer pulled me aside. Ma'am, he said quietly, I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it so you act fast. If they file anything in family court, you need documentation. Today, I nodded, like I understood, but my brain felt underwater. I buckled Lila into my car myself, triple-checking the locks like they were going to fail me. She watched the rearview mirror the entire time, small and silent, like she was afraid my mother's SUV would appear and swallow her again. Are we in trouble? She whispered. No, I said too fast. You're not in trouble. You're safe with me. She nodded, but her hands stayed clenched around the strap of her bag. When I glanced down, I realized it wasn't her backpack. It was her gym bag, the backpack her real one with the glitter unicorn was missing. They'd grabbed her so fast, they didn't even get her right bag. I didn't drive back to the duplex. Home was my mom's place, 2 units, 1 mortgage, 1 set of rules I never agreed to. Lila and I had moved into the upstairs unit 11 months earlier after my rent jumped and my hospital cut overtime. My mom called it temporary. Temporary is a word families use when they want your money but not your space. I drove to the public library and parked in the far corner. The building smelled like paper and quiet. I picked a table in the children's section where everyone could see us. Witnesses. Lila colored while I stared at my phone until my hands stopped shaking. 3 missed calls from my brother, Chase. 2 texts from Mom. 1 from Darren. Mom. We did this because we love Leela. Darren. Don't push this. Chase. Call me. Now. I called Chase because he always escalates if I don't. He answered like he'd been waiting to punish me. You embarrassed Mom, he snapped. Why did she try to take my kid? I asked. No greeting, No soft voice. I was done being polite. He sighed, rehearsed. Because you're a mess. Night shifts. Always tired. Lila deserves stability. That's your script, I said. What's the real reason? Silence. Chase, I whispered. What did you do? He exhaled. Mom's mortgage adjusts in March. Payments jump. A lot. We need stability on paper. My mouth went dry. On paper. You living upstairs looks unstable, he said. But Mom having Lila? That looks like a strong household. Family support. I stared at the bookshelf in front of me like the words might rearrange. So, you're using my daughter for a refinance. He got defensive fast. Stop saying it like that. We're giving her what she needs. What she needs is her mother, I said, voice low. Chase's tone cooled. Maybe you should take the hint and move out. You've been heavy. For the house. For Mom. Heavy. That's what he called me when he wanted me to feel guilty for existing. I looked down at my hands and remembered the family budget my mom made me sign when I moved upstairs. She framed it as fairness. I'd pay utilities and groceries, and I'd contribute to the mortgage while I lived there. What she didn't say out loud was that my contribution covered the gaps Chase never filled. Because Chase didn't pay. He performed. He'd started a fitness brand that was mostly him filming motivational videos in my mom's basement. When he needed a commercial space, he cried about dreams, and my mom cried about supporting him. And I, because I was trained to keep the peace, co-signed what he called a small lease. I have Indestay. It was a rope around my neck. I opened my bank app while Chase talked. An autopay for Chase's studio lease was set for midnight normal. But underneath it was something new. A second autopay tied to Mom's mortgage servicer. Bigger, labeled escrow catch-up. I scrolled back. That bigger draft had already gone through 3 times. My hands went numb. I cut Chase off. Why is my account paying extra on Mom's mortgage? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, too casual, it's just paperwork. Mom adjusted the draft. You live there. It's fine. It's not fine, I hissed. Stop being dramatic, he snapped my mother's line, coming out of his mouth. I ended the call and called the mortgage company. The rep was cheerful, the way people are when they don't know they're holding a grenade. Oh, yes. Miss Hale adjusted the draft schedule, she said. You're listed as an authorized payer and co-borrower. Co-borrower? I repeated. Yes, on the modification, she said. The notarized signature is dated. She read the date. Next Friday. My stomach dropped in the slow, nauseating way it does right before you throw up. My mom hadn't just tried to trick the school. She'd tried to lock me into her mortgage with a forged modification dated the same way. I asked for copies of every document and ended the call. Then Lila looked up from her coloring, eyes wide like she'd been holding this in all day. Mommy, she whispered. Grandma said, if I didn't go with her, you'd go to jail. My throat closed. This wasn't confusion. It was conditioning. And I suddenly realized I didn't know what else my family had already put inside my daughter's head. Part 3. If you're still here, hit like and subscribe, because the next moves my family made were so calculated, it didn't even feel real. Stay with me, because the next part flips everything. I got a small study room at the library and set Lila up with crayons. Then I went into full survival mode. First, school access. I logged into the portal, removed my mother, removed Chase, removed every relative who'd ever told me I'm doing this for the child. I added Tanya. I added my friend Elise from the ER. I made the note in all caps. Do not release child to anyone but Mom. Then I called the principal and asked for 3 things. The sign-out sheet, a copy of whatever my mom presented, and security footage from the office. The principal sounded shaken. We truly believed it was legal, she kept saying. Legal doesn't come with a notary date from the future, I said. Second, identity. I froze my credit. I changed my bank passwords. I turned on two-factor for everything, because Darren's confidence kept screaming one thing. They'd already used my name somewhere else. I opened my credit monitoring app and felt my stomach drop 2 credit cards I didn't recognize, 3 recent inquiries, and a store account in my name at a place I've never set foot in. The addresses attached weren't mine either. One of them was my mom's. I stared at the screen and whispered, "Oh my God." Lila looked up. "What?" "Nothing," I lied quickly, forcing a smile. "Just grown-up stuff." I stepped into the hallway outside the study room and called a lawyer. Ronan Blake. Not fancy, just sharp. He listened while I talked too fast. School pickup, forged notary, mortgage modification, threats about court. When I finally stopped, he didn't say, "Calm down." He asked one question. "Where is Lila right now?" "With me." "Good," he said. "Do not go back to that duplex. Do not meet them alone. And don't sign anything, even a harmless form." "I didn't sign," I said. "Then we prove that," Ronan replied. "You're filing a custody clarification and a protective order request. Today, paper beats family stories." I went back into the room, lowered my voice, and told Lila we were having a library adventure day. She didn't laugh. She just nodded like she didn't trust fun anymore. While she colored, I printed the mortgage documents the servicer emailed me, my forged signature, the notary stamp dated next Friday. Ronan told me to circle the date in red ink. "Make it idiot-proof," he said. "Judges are busy. They need obvious." Then he said, "Check your email for anything tied to Chase's lease. If your name is on it, we have leverage." I searched my inbox for lease, guarantor, and Chase's studio address. Buried in an old thread was an attachment, the commercial lease. My name was listed as primary guarantor, not co-signer, not backup, primary. I scrolled to the signature page and my chest went tight. My name was there. My social security number was there. And there was a second signature line labeled Witness. Signed, Darren Hale. Business consultant. I stared at that word like it was a joke. Darren could barely fill out a medical form without asking my mom what to write. Yet somehow he'd witnessed my signature on a legal document. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. "Come home. We need to talk. Bring Lila." Darren made dinner. Darren made dinner. The same man who tried to drive away with my screaming child. I didn't text back. I opened my bank app and found the midnight autopay for Chase's studio lease. My finger hovered over cancel, and my old conditioning flared. Don't rock the boat. Don't ruin his future. Don't make Mom cry. Then I remembered Lila's voice. "Grandma said you'd go to jail." I canceled the payment. Confirmation. Payment canceled. I waited for guilt. What I felt instead was relief so sharp it almost hurt. Because I wasn't being cruel. I was cutting a leash. I texted Chase one line. "Why is Darren listed as the witness on my lease?" He didn't reply, so I sent another. "If you forged my name, I'm filing a fraud report." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. My phone rang. "Mom." I let it go to voicemail, then a second call, then a third. Then her voice memo arrived. Soft and trembling like she was the victim. "Marin, honey, you're spiraling. Come home. We can fix this. For Lila. For Lila." Always the same words. Always like a shield. I walked Lila to the bathroom and waited outside the door, listening to her hum quietly while she washed her hands. That's when a new email pinged from the school. Subject: Authorization form submitted today. Attachment: a scanned form, with my signature. Except it wasn't my signature, it was a clean copy. Too clean. Like someone traced it. And at the bottom, in tiny print, was the name of the person who witnessed it. Darren Hale. My stomach turned, because now I knew Darren wasn't just my mom's boyfriend. He was the tool they used to make paperwork look legitimate. And if he could witness a forged signature at the school, he could witness anything. I opened the little lockbox app on my phone, the one I use to track where I keep documents, and my chest tightened. The birth certificate, Lila's social security card, her vaccine record folder. I kept them in a fireproof pouch in the upstairs closet. I hadn't grabbed the pouch when I ran to the school, which meant my mom still had it, meaning she didn't just want Lila physically. She wanted her paperwork too. My phone buzzed again. A calendar invite from my mother. Title: Family Meeting. Custody Plan. Time: tomorrow morning. Location: a mediator's office across town. And in the notes: bring Lila. It'll look better. I stared at the screen until my hands went cold, because they weren't just threatening court anymore. They were already setting the table for it. Part 4. That night, Lila slept at Tanya's. I didn't. I sat at Tanya's kitchen table with Ronan on speaker. The school paperwork spread out like evidence in a crime show. Ronan said, "Tomorrow we file, and you do not go back alone. I need my things," I whispered. "If they erase me from that upstairs unit, I'm stuck. They want you stuck," he said. "That's why we move first." At 7 a.m., I drove to the courthouse with coffee I didn't taste. Ronan met me at the steps and handed me a checklist like this was a project, not my life. We filed the custody clarification. We filed a request for a temporary protective order. We attached the voicemail from the school, the screenshot of the future-dated notary stamp, and Lila's voice memo about jail. Then we went to the police station. I brought the lease page with Darren's witness signature and the mortgage modification with my forged name. The desk officer flipped through it once, then again, slower. "This isn't normal family drama," he said finally. "This is identity fraud." He took my statement, gave me a report number, and told me to keep my child somewhere public if possible. "People do irrational things when money and custody mix," he said. On my way back to Tanya's, my phone lit up with a photo from Chase. My duplex door, my mom on the porch, Darren beside her, and on the welcome mat, Lila's pink backpack. Text: "We brought her stuff. Come home like an adult." I pulled over because my hands went slick on the steering wheel. I called Tanya. She answered, calm but tight. "They came?" she said. I didn't open. Lila didn't see them. "But your mom kept saying, 'We're just here for the child.'" Darren was laughing. "Did they leave?" I asked. "Yes," Tanya said. "But Marin, they were looking at the windows like they were checking for cameras. That detail made my stomach roll. They weren't emotional. They were strategic." Ronan called me back a few minutes later. "I pulled Darren's public records," he said. "DUI, probation violations, and a court restriction involving his own kid." My throat tightened. "He's not supposed to be around children." "Exactly," Ronan replied. "Which means if your mother is trying to place Lila around him, a judge will care." "A lot." I stared at the road. "She knows." "I'm sure she does," Ronan said. "People like your mother pick and choose which facts count. It's not Paction." By late afternoon, I couldn't stand not knowing what was happening at the duplex. I needed the document pouch. I needed Lila's papers. I needed proof of what they'd done to the upstairs unit. Ronan told me not to go, but he also knew the truth. If they had Lila's documents, they could pretend she lived there full-time. So I went at dusk, quiet, careful, parked down the street like I was visiting my own life in secret. I used my key on the upstairs door. It turned. Too easily. The smell hit first, fresh paint, like they'd already decided I was gone. The living room was stripped. My couch, my TV, Lila's bookshelf, even the cheap rug I hated, gone. The walls were a bright, clean white that wasn't there yesterday. In the center of the room sat one folding chair. On the chair, an envelope with my name printed in block letters. My hands shook as I opened it. A typed notice: "Vacate premises within 72 hours." Signed, Property Manager. My mom didn't have a property manager. I flipped it over and found a logo in the corner. Chase's fitness brand. He'd slapped his logo onto an eviction notice like it was merch. I took photos, front, back, close up, then opened closets. The fireproof pouch was gone. The shelf where I kept it was bare. My stomach dropped. Lila's birth certificate, her social security card, her medical records, in my mom's hands. I heard voices downstairs and froze. My mom's voice, low. "She's not answering," Chase said, irritated. "Good. If she panics, she'll come back," Darren laughed. "And if she doesn't, we make it official." My heart hammered. I stayed still in the stairwell, listening like my life depended on it. Chase said, "Once she's out, we list the upstairs. Short-term rental. Cash. Mom's mortgage looks great. Stable household." My mom hesitated. "But Lila," Darren answered, casual. "Lila stays here. She'll get used to it. Kids adapt." Chase added, like he was discussing a business plan. "And when Marin's credit tanks from the lease, she won't be able to rent anywhere. Then she'll have no choice but to cooperate." Cooperate. They weren't pushing me out. They were building a trap. I backed out without making a sound, locked the upstairs door, and walked to my car on jelly legs. I drove straight back to the police station and added the fake eviction notice to my report. The officer's face hardened. "Keep those photos," he said, "and don't engage with them alone." I didn't want to engage at all. But my phone buzzed as I walked to my car, and my stomach sank before I even opened it. A calendar invite from my mother. Title: Family Meeting. Custody Plan. Time: tomorrow morning. Location: a mediator's office across town. And in the notes, "Bring Lila. It'll look better." A second later, a text followed the invite. "Mom, we already told them you're refusing to cooperate. Don't make us involve CPS." My stomach clenched so hard it hurt. She'd escalated from family help to state threat in less than 24 hours, and she wanted me to walk in alone and smile. I stared at that sentence until my eyes burned. Because now they weren't hiding the plan, they were scheduling it, and if I walked into that room unprepared, they'd turn my daughter into a prop and me into the villain, with a smile. Part 5. The mediator's office was beige and quiet, like a place built for people who want their cruelty to sound polite. Ronan met me outside. "Lila stays away," he said. "She is," I replied. Tanya had her across town at a children's museum, loud, bright, full of cameras and witnesses. I nodded, jaw tight, and we walked in together. My mom was already seated, hands folded, face composed. Chase sat beside her like her attorney. Darren leaned against the wall with his arms crossed, looking bored like he was waiting for a table at a restaurant. My mom's eyes flicked to my empty hands. "No, Lila?" she asked, disappointment leaking through the sweetness. "She's safe," I said. "That's the point." The mediator introduced herself and asked why we were there. My mom launched into her speech without missing a beat. "Marin is overwhelmed," she said, voice soft. "She works nights. She's exhausted. Lila needs consistency. I'm just trying to support my daughter and protect my granddaughter." Chase nodded along, adding little, sounds like a podcast co-host. "We're not trying to take Lila," he said. "We're trying to help Marin. For Lila's sake." The mediator turned to me. "Marin?" I didn't start with feelings. I started with facts. Ronan slid the school documents across the table. Future dated notary. Unapproved guardianship petition presented as authority. Attempted removal from school. My mom blinked, slow. A clerical mistake. Ronan didn't react. He added the mortgage modification. Same date. Same notary stamp. Same fake version of my signature. The mediator's eyes narrowed. "Miss Hale, this is serious." My mom's voice tightened. "We never forced Marin. She agreed to help with the house. She lives upstairs and pays what she can. I leaned forward. Someone used my name to increase drafts on your mortgage, I said. And someone used my signature at my daughter's school. My mom pivoted fast, like she always does when she's cornered. Marin is retaliating. She canceled Chase's lease payment. She's trying to ruin his business. Chase jumped in, louder. She sabotaged me. I can't operate if she keeps doing this. I met my brother's eyes. You put my social security number on a lease and made me primary guarantor, I said. Without explaining it, without asking, and you had Darren witness it. Chase's jaw flexed. You would have said no. Exactly, I replied. Ronan slid another page across the table. And here's Mr. Hale's record, he said, nodding toward Darren. Including restrictions involving minors. Darren pushed off the wall. That's old, the mediator read, then looked up sharply. Mr. Hale, are you currently under any court-ordered restrictions that limit contact with minors? Darren hesitated. Just a flicker, my mom answered for him. Quick. He's safe. He's family. The mediator's voice went firm. He is not the child's parent, and this indicates the court has concerns. My mom's composure cracked for half a second. You're making him sound dangerous. He tried to drive away with my screaming child, I said, voice low. In a locked car. The mediator inhaled slowly, then asked, Do you have evidence of coercion or threats made to the child? I played the voice memo I'd recorded in my car. Lila's tiny voice saying, Grandma told her I'd go to jail if she didn't go. The room went dead quiet. Even Chase stopped fidgeting. My mom shook her head quickly. She misunderstood. She's 6, I said. She doesn't invent jail. The mediator turned to my mom. Miss Hale, that statement is inappropriate and potentially traumatizing. My mom's eyes flashed. We were trying to get her to cooperate. There was that word again. Like my daughter was a stubborn dog. Ronan leaned back. At this point, we're not negotiating custody. Marin has sole legal custody. There is no court order granting you authority. We're documenting misconduct, requesting boundaries, and pursuing relief through the court. The mediator's face had changed. Let's all share. More, this is dangerous, she said carefully. Given what I'm seeing, I recommend no unsupervised contact and no school access. Immediately. Potentially no contact until legal counsel determines safe parameters. My mom's voice rose. You can't do that to family. I stared at her. You did it to my child first. Ronan's eyes cut to Darren. If you'd like, we can move this to court. Then the judge can review the forged notary dates, the fraud investigation, and the attempted custodial interference. The mediator documented her recommendations in writing. My mom stood up stiff-backed. Chase followed, muttering about betrayal. Darren lingered just long enough to hiss, You think you won. I didn't answer. 2 days later, a judge granted a temporary protective order. No contact, no school pickup, no surprise visits. The court also ordered my mom to return Lila's documents. When she handed over the fireproof pouch, she did it with a smile that said, I'll remember this. I moved Lila and me into a small apartment across town. 1 bedroom, pull-out couch, cheap carpet, perfect peace. It wasn't fancy, but the locks worked. The first night there, Lila asked, Grandma can't come here, right? No, I said, kissing her forehead. No one can take you from me. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. A week later, the mortgage company opened a fraud investigation into the modification and froze the process. My name was removed pending review. Then my mom called from a new number, voice small and pleading. If we lose the house, she said, where will we go? I watched Lila at the table, drawing a door with a big lock on it, humming under her breath like she was rebuilding her world. You'll figure it out, I said. A pause. Then my mom hissed, "You're cruel." I shook my head. "No, I'm finished." I hung up, and for the first time in a year, my shoulders dropped. Now I want to hear from you because this is where people argue about respect while a kid is still shaking. If your own mother used your child to secure a loan and control you, would you cut her off, or would you keep forgiving, even if it teaches the kid that love means obeying? Comment your answer and share this with someone who needs permission to choose their child over family.